Do you like basketball? Basketball no. I like, but I'm not good at. Yes, I'm not.
Me too.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the State of the League podcast, the only NBA podcast that's willing to break down who's like a real scumbag guy I got on my list. The only NBA podcast that's willing to talk about the positive aspects of Alex Sarr. You know, streets are saying, "Oh, the field goal percentage is bad. Oh, he takes too many threes, bro."
He's French.
Oh, he's French. Exactly.
Well,
Watch him in transition. Oh my god, he's a fucking nightmare, dude. I'm your host Jack, aka Jokic Joestar. With me, as always, the world famous Pablo Escobar. We are joined today by internet smart guy, and Indiana Pacers correspondent, all around great person, Ben Pfeifer, to talk about both the upcoming draft class a little capture the flag talk, along with whether or not contested twos are a good foundation for a prospect. And then we're also looking at which rookies have shown out the best so far this season, this young NBA season. I'll give the floor to Ben. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always enjoyed this. Great to see Pablo inside of a building for once. I know it's been a minute, but it's the first time since I've been on since he's been in. And since this feels like the kind of pod to do this, and I wanted to say this before you hit record, I'm gonna do it anyways. Pablo was talking about we were talking about one way windows or things like that, you know. And I was reminded of a time I was in a bathroom. Cannot remember where it was. It might have been in like Europe or something within the last couple of years. And we go in and there's a one-way mirror looking out, which is crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Like you can see out while you're in the bathroom, but you can't. But like people don't know that you're looking at them.
That's bizarre.
Have you seen the movie Perfect
like,
Days?
I have not. No.
It's about a Japanese like janitor guy, and that's one of the things he does. He cleans bathrooms, but there's like a button in the bathrooms they have
Dude,
where you
that's
press
crazy.
it, and then it's like foggy on the outside, but you could see to the. It's crazy.
Anyway,
that's good. That's good. Dumping and people watching. That's a good combo.
Dude, it was kind of fun. Me and my. Oh, I think it was in Chicago actually. I think it was in Chicago. Actually,
Damn, Pablo, you got to find out this secret crazy bathroom.
Where was this bathroom?
I gotta save my dumps for the road.
I do know the kind of glass that you guys are talking about, though, where it just completely like blump, and then it's like you can't see through it from the outside. Technology has brought us so far. You know, we as a species have a dump where you could stare at people one way. Oh my god. Our ancestors were fiendish for this sort of thing. Imagine being in an outhouse and thinking
that's so true, man. Just like how NBA teams are going to be fiendish for Cooper Flagg next offseason.
Oh, what a transition! What a transition! Yeah, so,
why you have me on?
Yeah, exactly. Ben is a very smart draft guy. Pablo is a not so stupid draft guy. I'll give him that title. And then
better than Rashad Phillips.
Hey, there is that Yoda.
Yes. Yep. Hashtag Yoda.
That guy. That's the official.
He knew you were going to say that, by the way. He's got something cooked in response.
God, yeah.
Yoda knows.
And then
Bag Twitter's going to be on. Bag Twitter's going to be on your head.
I'm on Bag. I'm Bag Twitter's fucking. I'm the leader, baby. That's why I'm out with the Turpill. That's what I'm saying. You guys are looking for too much at the numbers.
There was a tweet. Someone did a tweet about Bronny, and I don't remember what the context was, but at the end they go, forget the stats, think Wiggle. And I'm like, no, we're not doing Wiggle Twitter, man.
That's incredible. So that's not even like, that was like a major dweeb, right? Who tweeted like a draft dweeb, no?
I saw the tweet last night. I have no idea. I don't remember. I just saw the think Wiggle and decided that it's the funniest thing I've read. That's just going to be the new brain worm that's in my head.
Wiggle, and then
there's no way. There's no way the casuals got Wiggle. Like, there's no way Ball Don't Stop is like the Wiggle.
It's Wiggle Twitter. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's such an NBA draft dweeb term.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Cooper Flagg, I'll tell you what, guys. Ben has been on the front lines in the off season on Cooper Flagg. People have been like, "Hey, could anyone else be the number one pick?" And Ben is like, "I'll come to your house and I'll kill you. I'll poison your wine if you think Cooper Flagg's not number one, you will be destroyed." And so, few games into the college season, Cooper Flagg, pretty good, statistically pretty good. His number one competitor, Ace Bailey,
Bag
made
talk.
some cool
about
mid-range
bag
jumpers.
I want to talk about bag Twitter. Oh my god, this fucking 19-year-old guy who's never gonna play professional basketball is putting him in a fucking box, but he hit the jump shot, so it's cool. Everything works after that. Yeah, the Ace Bailey highlights, they've been pretty polarizing on my timeline. I'll say that.
Very
much.
polarizing. Very polarizing. These type of players always are, though. Like the shot making types are the contested shot makers are always polarizing. I feel like I'm on Ace. I'm probably gonna land kind of in the middle, just like I did with Jabari Smith and just like I did with Brandon Miller. Like people like to say like oh, you hate these types, but I think I had Jabari like 4th or 5th in that class, and I think I had Miller like 7th or 8th. But like I just thought the world of that 2023 class. And then like there were people on like draft Twitter who had both of those guys like late lottery, Jabari Smith, maybe even lower. And I think there's going to be people who have Ace like late or outside the lottery. I will not be one of those people, but I also will not have him number one. So
okay. So I guess with Flagg, I'm an infant. I don't know anything about basketball. I've never heard of the college Duke. I've never heard of March Madness, and I've definitely never heard of the state of Maine. So what makes Cooper Flagg so tantalizing a prospect for something like the Wizards, the Nets, all of these teams?
So there's this sport with the orange ball, and guy, this is the baby who knows about the Wizards and the Nets, but not about Duke or the state of Maine.
Okay, well,
I've heard of the Wizards, but never the state of Maine.
Wizards are like in storybooks and stuff. Nets, that's a little more difficult. Maybe like a butterfly net that a kid would run around with.
Yeah, Cooper is a really, really special prospect, and we've kind of known this about him for years. He's been dominating the AAU high school international scene since he was 14 or 15 years old, and it's looking that way at Duke. The only thing that's through his first 4 games, he's shooting like 22% from 3, but he's been a great 3-point shooter over the last couple years, and his volume has been good. He's a good free throw shooter, so I expect that to be fine. But yeah, Flagg is just like a special defensive prospect with the athletic tools and feel for the game and shooting potential to be a really impactful offensive player. I don't know if he's going to be like the number one scorer on a title-winning team, but I can definitely see him be like an offense 2, defense 1. Honestly, like these guys are very different players. Like in the mold of like a theoretical Anthony Davis as like a guy who, maybe nowadays he's your offense 1, but like for a lot of his career, it's like your second offensive guy, like your lob threat, your roller, but he's your defensive anchor. And I think Cooper, defensively, no question, like is just beyond special. I don't think even his doubters, I think, are probably going to be willing to admit that. But offensively, man, like such a smart player, really amazing touch, and like a freak athlete. Like what people are always so willing to bet on these monster athletes to improve on offense, and yet Cooper Flagg doesn't get the same treatment.
Anti-white discrimination. I'll say it for you, Ben. Don't worry. Pablo, how do you feel?
So quickly, there was like I think one of my like some I tweeted this like forever ago, but there was a like he was playing in like an AAU, like one of like the AAU games. They were live streaming on the NBA.com or the NBA YouTube channel, and Cooper does like a 360 or like some crazy athletic feat where he like jumps over a guy and blocks someone, and I'm just like, he's a really sneaky athlete. It's like what exactly is sneaky about this? I just want to know.
Zion's sneaky athletic, it's just like you're not paying attention.
That would be a really good bit. Like we're discussing Anthony Edwards. Like he's a pretty sneaky athlete. I can't lie.
Oh man,
John Morant. I would have thought he was too malnourished to get that high. He's so skinny.
I would have expected him to be more of like a corner shooter type. But
yeah. So Cooper, and I should say I have watched very little of everybody. The only Cooper I've seen so far is I watched live when he played Kentucky, and so
One
I
of his
don't
best
have any
games.
strong opinions about these guys yet. But he's very interesting in that it's incredibly obvious how good defensively he is. Like he's just going to be an absolute monster. Offensively, it seems right now his game is mostly like mid-range self-creation, and like he gets down deep in the basket and then he's doing a little cooking. And so before the season started, when I had consumed him like entirely just through draft Twitter and clips and articles that people had written.
That's the way to do it.
I always thought like I wonder if he could be Tatum impact wise. Like, is this what we're getting? Because Tatum is also an incredible defender, another guy who brings rim protection as a wing, and then does like a ton of offensive self creation, but maybe not necessarily like he's not an initiator. He's not like running.
Yeah.
Everything. How do you think Cooper? Where do you think he intersects and dissects from Jason Tatum?
I think Cooper is an incredibly difficult person to make comparisons for, but I think Tatum is one of the better ones. My favorite Cooper flag, shout out Mike Gribinov, did Brianna Stewart.
I saw that.
I think really good. But anyways, back to Tatum, like I think it's gonna look different in their impact. Like I think Flagg is and always will be more of like a big interior type, not only with his defense as like a rim protector, but also like he's such a good cutter and finisher and interior scorer. Whereas like Tatum's always had like weird finishing stuff throughout his career, whereas Cooper's never going to have those issues. When Tatum, I think, was always a little bit more natural of like a ball handler, whereas Cooper might have some of those issues. But yeah, I think that's a good kind of like impact parallel for like the high end for Cooper. Like say what you want about Tatum, but like he's very clearly been a top 5 to 7 guy for many years. And I think if you're getting that with the number 1 pick in any draft, you are absolutely stoked. And Flagg, I think defensively, like probably is going to be better than Tatum, just that level guy. And I don't know if he's going to be, people can hem and haw or whatever if they think Tatum's a 1 on a championship team, like on offense, whatever. I'm not really.
Is this like?
I'm not really interested.
Do we have
in those
4 all-stars next to him? Or,
yeah, exactly. Where
and
it's
also,
like,
can he be an 11 on Team USA?
No, man. Cooper Flagg would care too much. He would fight his way into the rotation. I'll tell you that. But yeah, no, I think offensively, like it's going to be really easy for Cooper to fit in on any team just because he's so smart. He plays hard. He rebounds. He cuts. He shoots. So it's going to be like, where does the creation level out? And I think we did see a lot of like early career Tatum, right? It wasn't as much attacking the rim as it is these days. There was a lot of pull-up jumpers, and Flagg is really good at creating space for his pull-ups. Like doesn't have a crazy handle. His ball control isn't great, but he is so explosive and flexible, and his release is so damn high that it's really hard to contest his shots. I think Flagg is also much more comfortable at this point shooting off of the dribble than he is off of the catch, which is a very common thing for players his age. Like that's, I would say, more common than the inverse for like teenage stars. But yeah, like again, I don't know if Cooper is going to be like your 1A offensive superstar, but I do think like he's a guy who at his best, I think will definitely have people who are like, this is the best player in the world, even if it's not necessarily ever like enshrined with an MVP award. But like, yeah, I think he's going to be that level of guy at his peak. And of course, like with all these guys, his floor is just so ridiculously high. Like even if he doesn't end up hitting this crazy outcome, I see very little world where Cooper isn't at least like a great starter on a good team.
Yeah.
And so I think the question is, if you're not a high volume scorer, if you're not someone who could necessarily carry the offense, can you be a savior? Will he be a savior for whoever drafts him? Like if Utah drafts him, is it day one, our entire life is different, everything revolves around this guy? Or is it just, we have a really great player, let's see how it goes?
I think he is closer to that savior level, even if it doesn't necessarily look like it. Like obviously Wemby is a totally different breed, but like I feel like Wemby's quote unquote saviorness isn't as much predicated on its scoring as other things. Obviously, Wemby like Wemby's just a different universe. Like there's not necessarily trying to compare them as prospects or as players, but I think we can see like these teams built. First of all, Utah would just be hilarious just for the bit, but also I would adore him with Will Hardy. But
Don't get us started on Will Friday.
Pablo's enemy, but I would adore him on that team. But I think Cooper, like, the thing is, like, his passing is so good that I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for how ridiculous of a passer he is. Like, he's going to be a guy who, even if like the volume scoring isn't there right away or it takes a year or two, like, he's going to be an amazing wing passer, creating shots for himself, for others, I think right away. So I think in that way, like, even if he's not necessarily scoring, I do think he's a player with his playmaking and the stuff he can do off the ball, and his defense probably will end up being at like the center of whoever drafts him. Obviously, we'll see who gets the number one pick eventually, but I think it might look a little different. But I feel like all of like these generational prospects end up being kind of unique in their own ways, right? Mm-hmm. Like Cooper's just unique in his own way, like Wemby and Zion and Luka were.
Yeah, I was gonna say like if we went through everyone who we consider like a quote unquote savior of a franchise since like 2000 or whatever, it doesn't feel like there's that many. Like if you look at, first of all, if the minimum definition for that is like guy you draft and win a championship with, it's an exceedingly short list. But even if it's just like a guy that you draft who
changes the tune of the franchise,
like John Wall, the Dougie.
Oh my god, it was so sick, dude. John, the Gortat screens, what a magical time. Yeah, but so like if we run down that list of like LeBron,
just to make this comparison one more time really quickly, rookie Anthony Davis was at 19 points per 75 with like a relative true shooting at like 2 or 3. I think Cooper could definitely be that as a rookie.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of where my mind keeps going back to, is like the Anthony Davis thing, even though they are like different players from the descriptions of them. And even though New Orleans didn't necessarily find a ton of success with Anthony Davis, I would
that's not Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it's not like a criticism of him as a prospect. I would consider him like in the quote unquote savior tier of guys. And it's just like more so a matter of like what the franchise did with him. So yeah, I mean,
he saved another franchise.
Hey, yeah. And he was in that second option role there, like we talked about. So yeah. Obviously Flagg looks fucking sick. Not like a revolutionary take there. Getting into like so Ace Bailey, I've been hearing some DEMIN talk on my time.
Igor DEMIN. It's what is it? Is it DEMIN?
Ben? I believe it's like Yegor DEMIN or DEMIN. I don't know exactly how to say
You're
it.
In Ye-
no. I think announcers say Yegor or like I think it's Yegor DEMIN, maybe. I honestly have not listened to an announcer pronounce. I think it might be
all right.
But
the Mormon.
I'm not.
Is he Mormon? Do you think? Because he's from Russia. Are there Mormons in Russia?
I don't think so. Maybe.
No, missionaries in Russia would be crazy.
It's a big country. I mean, I wouldn't like.
It's true.
There's probably a
Mormon ton of different states out there.
There's probably a Mormon community like somewhere in Russia, but I would imagine that DEMIN is probably not a part of that community and just got a nice NIL bag to go to BYU.
So if anyone is not tuned in yet, there's a new a Mormon demon down in BYU. It's this Russian kid who is a 6'9". I've seen this 6'9" measurement. Some people say 6'8". I've seen 6'9" out there, and I've seen a touch below 7 foot for the wingspan. So I'm guessing 6'9", 6'11" wingspan point guard. Sure. And he has been dominating. He's off to a monster start at BYU, and I'm gonna read a tweet I'm gonna read a Blue Sky. I joined Blue Sky last night. The vibes are so.
Oh wait,
good.
What's your Blue Sky?
No, it's not an actual one. It's a lurker one. So
Oh my
don't worry,
God.
I'm already
Can
lurking
we,
you
can we
on
get
that.
it off the record? Can we get it? You're so secretive. Jeez.
I don't post anything. I just look at literally the username is like I smashed the keyboard for a bunch of different things. But so the great Jay Kyle Mann is already there. He said he tweeted today, I said Igor DEMIN is the best manipulative passer in college basketball since Tyrese Halliburton. That probably wasn't strong enough. He's well beyond Halliburton at the same age. Probably have to put him next to Trae Young in terms of his hit rate on making the right read and creativity to convert. Incredible talent. Now, I watched his first game because someone posted it on YouTube, and it was 44 minutes long. I thought it was the whole thing. It was not the whole thing. They cut out a bunch of random parts. So I walked away from that game. I was
I
like,
think all of his games, I think his full games are probably somewhere on YouTube, but
they better be. Someone cut out like the first few minutes. I missed every three that he made in the game. I watched the game. I was like, man, I can't. If this guy just got a jumper, and then I pull up the highlights. I'm like, what? He started off the game pulling up from three. What's going on? So I missed stuff. But so and right now he's averaging 17 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists on 74% true shooting, 55% from three. I think on like decent volume. So this is the guy I think right now probably hype for number 2, and I'm sure if he did this for an entire season long, there would definitely be like, is he the real white boy number 1 of this draft? So first off, where did this guy come from? Did you know about this guy before? I had never heard of him. Is he from Real Madrid?
Yeah, so DEMIN, I'm just gonna go with DEMIN for now.
Okay.
Has been like decently known for a while. Has played in like the ANGT circuits and FIBA for quite a while. So people have definitely known about him, and there were a good amount of people who were high on him. I don't want to pour cold water totally on that whole spiel. I am not particularly high on DEMIN at the moment, at least compared to some people. And I think it largely stems from the competition level of the teams he's played. The best team, according to Bartorvik's rankings, that BYU has played is UC Riverside, who is currently 156th in their ranking. Every other team that they've played, Queens, Central Arkansas, and Idaho, are all outside of the top 300.
Jeez.
So it's like dumpster fire competition. And I don't mean to like take away from what DEMIN is doing, because like you said, if he does this against the Big 12 competition, that's probably enough. I don't know if I'd have him.
Wait, is BYU in the Big 12?
BYU is in the Big 12 now. Yes.
Oh crap.
Yep. They're in the Big 12 now, which is going to be a loaded conference, obviously, with Kansas and Baylor and Arizona and like a bunch of Iowa State and
Arizona. I'm forgetting the
these are
entirely
conference realignment, dog. But yeah, DEMIN has also been like a very up and down, inconsistent player throughout his youth career, where like he's had seasons and stretches of shooting 40% from three, and then he'll shoot 20% for a season, and then like he definitely does seem like he's improved athletically, because one of my big concerns with him was always his ability to score and to get downhill and to generate easy paint touches, which he's been doing at will so far, which has been really encouraging. But I don't have enough confidence whether or not to say like it's a legitimate change that he's made, or if it's just this competition. Because like if you do watch the tape, like the windows that he is passing and driving into are gigantic, and like part of that is because I think I do agree with Jay Kyle Mann that he is like a brilliant manipulative passer. Like his flair and creativity are absolutely crazy. Like he threw an off the backboard alley-oop.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, what the hell is this guy on?
As I've seen, by the way, but I was like, damn, this guy.
It was so sick. I don't really care as much about like the 3-point shooting, just because I like it's so variable anyways with these small samples. But his getting to the line, or his getting to the rim, he hasn't really been getting to the line. His getting to the rim.
He's ethical, by the way. That's what
his rim frequency. His rim frequency almost like 40%, I think, which is way better than it had been in the past. Definitely encouraging. I'd say I had him as like a late first guy coming into the season, and he's definitely on my lottery radar right now. I'm certainly not there with him as like a top 2-5 guy, maybe in like another class, but this class is just so stacked that I would like to see him. And hey, like I said, if he does this against like great teams for 5-10 games in a row or the whole season, I'm totally cool with it the way he's playing. But I've seen too many players like go crazy against low major competition and then plummet back to earth against, because like, the difference between like Queens and Kansas State is like the difference between it's enormous. I don't have like a good analogy for it. But he is very fun to watch, and I'll say that regardless of like how I feel about him as a prospect, he and that BYU team is going to be really fun. So
Okay.
As a prospect, I think there's an obvious comparison for him. He plays at BYU, kind of like a religious ethno enclave. He's from Russia, an
Cannot
evil
wait to see where this
colonizing
goes.
country. And so there was
I know.
another jumbo point guard who played in an evil colonizing country, Denny Avdia, and who played against trash competition in the Israeli league.
Israeli League is quite good, actually.
So how do you think
you don't gotta hand it to them?
So how do you think he it's early, but so Denny was the MVP of the Israeli league, and people claimed, like I remember like John Hollinger and others, they're like, it's incredibly top heavy league, it doesn't mean anything, blah blah blah. So how do you think he compares to Denny, who was another like primary ball handler, jumbo? They're probably around the same size, good passer, like fast guy, but jump shot concerns or whatever. How do you think he compares to Denny as a prospect?
Yeah. Not as a colonizer, of course, but
and not as the worst scorer in the NBA right now.
dude, it's kind of great. I can't lie.
Damn. It'd be crazy if we were going to talk about a guy who they traded him for in like 30 minutes or something. That'd be insane.
So Denny was kind of like a FIBA, like he was incredible against his own age group and older, pretty much always, whereas that hasn't been the case for DEMIN. And I think Denny was always a way better like athlete and defender. DEMIN is probably a better passer, more creative with the ball. Like DEMIN's shot is certainly inconsistent and I have issues, but like it's not nearly as broken as Denny's was. And even like it's been better throughout his NBA career, but like he hasn't been a good shooter by any means, right? Like his best, like last year he shot like 38% from three. Every other season it's been like 31 or below. I don't think it's that bad for DEMIN, but I do think it's like these tall ball handlers without like bankable scoring skills are risky. And obviously, like if DEMIN continues to get to the basket and finish like he is, that's a different story. But the sample is so small. We've seen 4 games against terrible competition. But I do think that's like a good point where it's like, yeah, these guys, where it's even if it's like they have athletic tools, they can pass. Like if you don't have this consistent way that you can like really score, and obviously, like I said, if the burst and like the rim pressure is real, then that changes. But if not, then I think it can be a little dicey. A little dicey.
Hey, I know a jumbo guard who can pass and do nothing else. I've heard of a guy like that in the NBA. Some people might put a lot of value into a guy like that. Some people.
My favorite DEMIN comp, which maybe he's overshooting at this point, was my guy Ahmed Jama made the like Joe Ingles plus comparison, like Jumbo Jingles, which again, if he's this kind of athlete, maybe not, but like I really like just like prime Joe Ingles was a really damn good offensive player.
Tell us, dude. Prime Jingles.
I know, yeah.
Oh my god.
And like
that's a Jokic efficiency from that guy.
Just like the value of a guy who's like tall, shoots pull-ups, and can really pass out of the pick and roll, even if there's like always going to be obvious gaps in their game. So like,
yeah. Okay. So we got. Oh, I googled it. Damn. Hold on. Let me find it. It's DEMIN, I guess. So sorry to the Russians that are listening. That's on us. But every time you heard DEMIN over the past 15 minutes, just think DEMIN. So we got him. We got Flagg. Where do you want to go? So if you're like not locked into DEMIN, I mean, it's ridiculous to have him locked in at 2 right now. But you mentioned like the 2 to 5 range. Who leaps to your mind as like the second, third picks in this draft?
So right now for me, and like you said, it's so early and fluid and in the cycle, right? So after Flagg, I think this is a really strong class for guards. Obviously, you have DEMIN,
So
however
wait,
you feel about
how strong do you think it is? Like 2023, 2018, and then
I think
there's
it's
classes
strong. I
below
think
that?
it's deeper than 2023 at the moment. It doesn't have a Wemby, obviously. So that's like it's like hard to compare because it's like, yeah, they have Wemby. Of course the class is better. But I do think throughout the lottery, it's deeper at this moment. This is like the strongest lottery as a whole that I think I can remember scouting since I've been seriously doing this since like 2018, 2019.
Mhm.
At this stage, yeah, I think this is the strongest lottery. And for me, like the group of in whatever order you want, the next group after Cooper is Ace is probably in there somewhere towards the bottom. I mean, he's definitely worth talking about. And then it's 4 guards who are Dylan Harper, Nolan Traore, VJ Edgecombe, and Kasparis Yakuchonis. Traore plays in France for Saint Quentin. Saint Quentin, I'm sure that's terribly bastardized. Dylan and Ace obviously play for Rutgers. Yakuchonis is at Illinois. Edgecombe is at Baylor. I think it's like 4 very different like flavors of lead guard prospects. But I think all are similar quality, just in general.
So I did get a chance to see. I watched the Rutgers St. John's game. Was it the like exhibition?
Yep, the exhibition. It was a very competitive exhibition.
Yeah, it was good. And so the immediate takeaway was obviously, yeah, Ace Bailey not going to be a savior. Like this is a play finishing type guy. But Dylan Harper really stood out as like big time advantage creator. Like everything that offense did was a result of him creating some kind of problem somewhere. He was incredible. And so he is, it seems to me the read on him is big powerful rim penetrating guy, and then the question will be like the outside shooting, and then a similar thing with Nolan Traore, who's another like hyper athlete who does stuff like that. How do those two guys compare specifically?
For sure, yeah. So those are my current 2 and 3. Flip flop them a lot. I think Harper. I think the very basic surface level difference is that Traore is more of like a lead guard, has more like lead initiator upside. If you want like a guy who has the chance to really be like your 1A offense guy, it's Traore. I think not Fox. I keep thinking of Fox as my Traore comparison. So that's Freudian
Is he
slip.
faster?
I don't know if he's faster, but he's really fast. But Harper to me has like a little bit less of a chance to be a legit lead guard initiator, just because he doesn't create easy paint touches as easily as Traore, and like you said, that the outside shot isn't perfect, but neither is Traore's. But I think Harper is bigger, better defensively, much better off-ball player. So Harper maybe has a little less chance to be like your 1A lead guard, but I think is much more scalable in his projection. So that's like the surface level difference to me between the two. But yeah, I think they're both excellent in their own ways.
Okay.
And so Traore has a lot of physical hype. Where would you grade him on the athletic point guards we've seen come out? You threw out the Fox comparison. Is there a power element to his athleticism? Like, is he as good as Jaden Ivey physically, would you say?
That's a high bar to clear.
That's my go.
Maybe in terms of speed, I would say yes, but in terms of explosion, no. Traore is not the most vertically explosive guy. He and Harper actually share that problem. The real hyper god athlete of the group is Edgecombe.
Oh yeah,
but
he's not doing well so far, right?
He's definitely. He's just behind them, in a lot of ways. But Traore, in terms of speed, pure like first step acceleration, I think is up there with whoever you want to put him up there with. But he's just not as, and he's also like tall, like every bit of 6'3", 6'4", long, pretty strong for his age. Like he is an 18-year-old playing in a pro league, but he's not the most explosive vertically. So when it comes to like horizontal athleticism, I think you can put them up there. Put him, he's not like a Westbrook level burst, I don't think, or like first year G League Ignite Scoot level burst.
It's crazy that he's already washed. Damn. We
know,
can't
man.
even say Scoot right now, Burst. You have to say, G League Scoot. Holy shit, he was breaking.
Back when he was
Dude, I mean,
17.
his first year, I mean, he still is he's still like a top tier
Yeah.
burst guy in the league, but like man, those what he was doing at 17, oh my goodness, whatever.
Will his slow start inform how you feel about these guys at all? The athletic guards?
Not really, just because like I've seen a lot of people do it, like being like, I don't get it, like maybe Traore because of Scoot, and like I do get it, but I also don't want to be so like, this is like, I don't want to let one draft outcome influence so strongly what I do and what I think, right? Like, and also I think the thing with the draft, right? It's all about like ranges of outcomes. It's like there was a world where Scoot had a much better first 2 seasons. Like this wasn't destiny. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't the only way that the Scoot thing could have gone. Just like, there's probably a world where a guy like De'Aaron Fox doesn't end up being a very good player, or Donovan Mitchell ends up being a worse player, or
where Bryson gets playing time and they allow him.
Sure,
yeah.
Like Anthony Edwards,
62% true shooting.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Or like Anthony Edwards never puts it together. But I definitely think it's true on the flip side that it is really hard to be a small guard, and small guard evals, like when I say small guard, I mean like not wing size.
Yeah.
Under 6'6", basically.
Yeah, like Harper's not a small guard, obviously, but I think all these other guys technically are, even if they're 6'3", 6'4". It's just really hard if you don't have that like, bankable scoring skill, kind of like I said with DEMIN, but in a different way. Whereas Traore has like can get to the rim whenever the hell he wants, and like he's not a great finisher, he's not a great shooter at the moment. But the fact that he has that like one special game-breaking trait to me is like he's going to get chances to keep on improving the rest of his game in terms of, he's going to be at the rim, he's going to have chances to finish. Defenses have to play off him because of his speed. He'll have chances to take threes. And he definitely struggles from the floor in terms of efficiency early in this season. But again, want to keep in mind that like his competition level versus your average college basketball player, especially like, you have DEMIN playing glorified JUCO teams, and you have Traore playing against, like Teo Maladon and like good, good French league teams. It's a huge difference in terms of like the physicality and the competition. And I just think like his willingness to shoot, even if the percentages aren't great, is encouraging because he has good touch as well. Like, and his defense has been really, really impressive to me in the French league too, which is a nice plus. Because like, if you're not going to be like this godly initiator guard, it's like if you can be a legit defender, I think that definitely helps too.
Can you guys hear? My neighbor upstairs is like building a cabinet or something. There's
I cannot hear anything.
There's a lot of hammering going on.
Your microphone's noise canceling is doing a great job.
Beautiful. All right.
So one guy who was in Jack's life for a few years that comes to mind when I think of Traore is RJ Hampton, who was not that good in the NBL, but physically in transition, he was incredible.
So RJ Hampton was such a bucket.
Holy shit.
So how does Traore compare to RJ Hampton, and is he more capable in the half court?
Definitely. I liked RJ Hampton as a prospect.
I was such a hater because he was going on all the podcasts saying, "Yeah, I'm better than LaMelo. It's just that I'm on a winning team down here, and he gets to be up with. They're not a serious team. They're just letting him chuck shots over there. He's such a loser, idiot. I hate that guy." And everyone was buying into it. I was like, "Oh, you bastards."
RJ, I think, was just like Traore has feel questions for sure in terms of like decision making is not always great with him, but I think RJ was like a different level of questionable feel. And I think one of the big differences is like Traore has been an extremely dominant player against his own age groups, like had 40-point games in ANGT, dominated the FIBA level, and RJ was never even that incredible against his own age group, let alone grown men. So I think just like there's a baseline of like feel and production and also size. Like Traore 6'3", 6'4", built really well. RJ was always really skinny and has never really been able to put on muscle. Also, yeah, like you kind of alluded to in the podcast. Of course, there was always like a personality thing with RJ too. But I think that is another example of like these like really explosive bursty guys can have pretty varying ranges of outcome and like need other things. Whereas like RJ, had good stretches in the NBL where he was, passing a little bit better, but yeah. Definitely think Traore is a different level of guy.
Okay. All right.
And now RJ Hampton's brother is top prospect in 2027.
I love
2027 high school class, to be clear.
Wait, how old are people that class?
True age, like 15, 16. A lot of them are at this stage. Most
so
of
is he
the
a freshman or like sophomore?
He's a sophomore right now.
That's so crazy.
At this stage, most of the 2027 or like the sophomore high school class guys are going to be an age group up, and a lot of them will end up reclassifying. So like a lot of the top guys at like the RSCI to me aren't actually the top prospects because they're like a year older, and a lot of the younger guys are actually better. But
okay. Pablo, is there anyone else that you wanted to pull up before we move to the rookies this year, or how you feeling?
So two last things. So number one, the one guy that we talked about a little bit, we haven't really watched him, but he had hype in the offseason, was Rocco Zakarsky down in Australia. It seems the hype and like momentum has tapered off a little bit for him. Is he doing poorly now? What happened with him? And will he be like a top center?
Yeah, I was kind of leaving the Rocco hype train over the offseason, and he has been unfortunately kind of disappointing to begin his second season in the NBL. Like the thing with Rocco last year, like super young, he was 17 last year playing in the NBL, unbelievably productive on a per minute basis, just like ridiculous block numbers, rebound numbers, scoring numbers, efficiency numbers, all that good stuff. And this season, his minute share hasn't really increased that much, which is disappointing. He's still not starting games, not playing as consistently. Like he went from 7.4 to 11.9 minutes per game, which is definitely disappointing. And just like looking at the raw numbers, he's way less efficient. True shooting has dropped by almost 10. His block rate has dropped by almost 8. Like he just hasn't been the same level of impactful when he's been playing. I haven't been able to watch any of his stuff in depth in the NBL. I'll probably do that eventually. Because I was such a huge fan of his in the offseason with these contingents. And it's always tough with these really young players who's like, we expect them to play more to improve. Like, I remember after Donovan Clingan's first year, I was, like, he was really great, but if he, let's see, if he, if he plays more and does this same level of impact consistently on like starter level minutes, he's going to be great. And that's what he did. He maintained his impact as a starter. Zakarsky hasn't done that yet.
KOCW. I'll tell you what. I watched him as a freshman. I was like, this big clunky giant. Yeah, okay. And then it worked.
Yeah. Clingan did improve a lot from that point on. But yeah, I mean Rocco, like I still think is probably worth like a lottery top 20 pick just because he is enormous, young, and has that history of being productive and a really impactful defender. But it's certainly not what you wanted to see for a guy who I thought of as, potentially in the top tier of prospects in this class on the back of his incredible defensive production and tools. He doesn't seem to be like he's moving as spryly this year. I don't know exactly what's happening. I'll have to dive in more deeply, but unfortunately, yeah, the Rocco hype unfortunately may have hit its peak earlier and has dropped off. And he might not even declare for this draft, to be honest. Maybe he will. I don't actually know. I mean, it's too early to say, really, for even a lot of these guys we're talking about. And 2026 draft is going to be an even weaker center class. At least at this point, that's how it's looking. So this isn't the strongest center class in the world either. Like last year was I'd say a similarly strong center class, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
given how everyone last year was like, there's literally nobody in this draft class. Nobody declared. Nobody. You can't. Any picks are just going to be completely.
That's kind of like if you're a team looking for a center in this draft, you are good chance you're going to come away disappointed because all of the good center prospects, there's like no surefire thing. Like Rocco has the issue you talked about. Come on, Maluwash.
No sure thing. Come on.
Shut
I'm going to
up.
leave the call.
Oh, God.
He was pretty good in the Kentucky game.
He was good in that Kentucky game. I think that's the best I've ever seen him play in his life.
Damn.
He's just like
a guy who watched one game, the best game he's ever played. I don't know. That guy's really good.
Best I've ever seen him. No, he's another one of these competition level guys. Hasn't played a lot of basketball. Very raw, but obviously a crazy physical talent. And then the other two best center prospects, Flory Badunga and Colin Murray Boyles, are 6'7".
Damn.
So
is Colin Murray Boyles a center? I didn't watch him last year.
Effectively, I mean he's like a 6'7" guy who can't shoot.
Yeah.
Who doesn't shoot.
Pelican
So,
center, if you will.
All
right.
Or OKC. And so the last guy who's gotten some hype is Trey Johnson. Now, I have seen nothing of Trey Johnson at all. My impression is this is a wing scorer, like a shot creator type guy. Enlighten us.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. He's like a combo guard, wing, shot maker. That's exactly what Trey Johnson is. And he's a really damn good one. Like the thing with this class is like even the guys who I'm not that high on, like I get it. Whereas last year, like people were mocking, like I don't know if you remember, like Justin Edwards in the top 3. He's someone who I said was like a terrible, no offense to him, was like a way overrated prospect at the time. And
they told you, yeah, you look gay though, so you're wrong.
That is, yeah.
They were so mad at you.
Or it's even like, it's like I'm not as high on someone Ace Bailey, but I'm like, he's a really good prospect. I'd take him in the top 5 for the right team. Whereas like Trey Johnson, I'm like, there's going to be some people who have him in the top 5 because people just love these tall shot makers, right? Like we know that like there's a certain sect of the basketball space that just loves these contested shot makers. Where Trey is like a really gifted shot maker. And I think the thing with Trey that I'm always really intrigued about is that he's like such a good shooter off of movement too. So he's not just an on-ball guy. He can really like sprint off of screens and have value as like an off-ball shooter, even when he's not commanding possessions. My main concerns with Trey though are his inabilities to get to the rim and finish, which he's finishing well so far, but he's not getting to the rim, which is kind of what we expected to them. Trey has taken, what is this, almost like 50, 60 shots so far. Only 10 of them have come at the rim. Just like not very bursty, explosive, never a guy who draws a lot of fouls. And his playmaking is like, he can pass the ball insofar as he's good at like secondary pick and rolls, like empty side pocket passes, but he's not like a high feel guy per se. And defensively has been inconsistent in the past, but he's been pretty good to start his Texas career. So just like a guy who I think is a pretty narrow range of outcomes. Like he kind of is what he is, but what he is definitely valuable to an extent. Like these guys who are really like talented scorers, shot makers, tend to have value. Like I almost think of him in a similar bucket as like a D'Angelo Russell, hopefully with more like consistency and just less weirdness surrounding him. But a guy who at his best is a very good player, but always limited by inabilities to get to the basket and to pressure the rim, and very talented passer, but always having decision-making qualms. So that's kind of how I see Trey Johnson. I have him I think just outside my lottery at the moment, but could definitely imagine him breaking into that as some guys who I maybe have in the lottery play worse, or he continues to play better. So he's good. I'm a fan of Trey Johnson. Even though like people on Twitter will tell you that I hate him, I don't.
Nice. I love those kinds of discourses where you just make one. You're like, this guy has a problem, and you're like, wow, you just said he should kill himself on the internet.
He should die. That's what you wrote down.
That's literally my story with Cody Williams.
Nice. Hey, that's aging pretty well. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's not canon. It's year 1.
Hey, year 1.
It's not canon. And
he's not Darius Garland, bro.
Well, unblock me on Twitter, JDub, please.
He's in one of the worst situations in the entire league, which is being a young guy coached by Will Hardy. And also, you have to consider that how Will Hardy's brain works. Actually, the worse young players get more leash and more run time. So, source Keontae George.
This image like that Pablo's like made of the voices in his head of Will Hardy, where he's like turbo Rick Carlisle in terms of like hating young guys, is so funny. I'm very amused.
I hate this man.
How do you explain the Kyle Filipowski?
That's
minutes
true.
recently?
Oh, he is, but well, because he's a Mormon. It's a call from upstairs. Danny Ainge, get him in there. Get that white Mormon groomed boy.
Fair enough.
This
Can't
is
argue with
this is
that.
the image of our franchise we need to uphold.
Oh.
It is Joseph Smithian fate that he landed in Utah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. On that note, I guess we could get into the rookie class this year. I'll hand it to our
Next year's draft is gonna be so good. Can't
It's
wait.
gonna be sick. But hey, everyone last year was saying this draft sucks. Everyone's terrible.
And we were right.
Hey, there's fun things happening. Okay.
Of course there
I
are, but
Ben, have you seen the block percentage leaderboards?
I have actually. I think I tweeted
I think
it
the
out.
future
That
is now. I think that's what those
Clingan and Star and Wemby? Oh my god.
Yeah. All right. So I'll give it to Ben. Everyone brought, I guess, three people that they want to talk about. That was the prompt, but I just have a list of like productive young guys.
yeah, I feel like we just went over like oh yeah, we'll talk about that guy. We'll talk about that guy. But we can.
All right. So who do you want to start with then, Ben?
I'm not gonna pick any from the original list that you said.
Cool. He's different, guys. Yeah. He's just
He's got to do his own thing. He's kind of a maverick.
God damn. We
Like
give him some
Dallas Maverick.
just fucking breaks him.
Well, so I think you kind of alluded to. Let's start with the Wizards guys.
Let's do.
Because I feel like I kind of want to again. I mean, just obviously they're on the same team, and I want to kind of put them in the same bucket. Obviously, the Wizards drafted Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and Keyshawn George in the first round. And
Keyshawn. It's tricky.
It turns out it's Keyshawn. What's up with that?
is it Keyshawn?
Yeah.
that's what
I didn't
the
know.
answers say.
Yeah.
I believe it then.
Keyshawn
George. And anyways, looks like all of those picks, I'd say, relatively doing pretty well. Like,
with George, we could lead off with George because I would say it's of the three. We need to talk about him the least.
Right, just have the least to talk about.
He
Yeah,
scored 20. And there's stuff there as like a big guy who is willing to take threes. He's not hitting them particularly well right now. He's like 30% on the most volume among rookies by far. The Wizards are interesting right now because the Kuzma injury kind of forced their hand into this youth movement that was really fun over the past like 3 weeks or so. Kuzma went down and they just leaned all in. They're like, all right, Bub, Keyshawn, Sarr, we're throwing you guys out there. Bilal, take as many shots as you want. And so obviously in terms of like totals and averages, that has like bolstered these guys compared to the field.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look at like per game stats, especially like 15 games into guys, just because minutes are so variable with rookies. Like at this point, Men wasn't really playing. He was actually hurt, I think, at the beginning of this year, but he wasn't playing much.
Yeah. But as far as like eye test stuff goes, Sarr defensively, there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and then offensively, as far as like project player goes, I know you and me literally talked with a guy about this on Twitter the other day, where it was like he looks like a car crash offensively as far as like statistics go, and that's not entirely untrue. Like attempting 5 threes a game and not being able to hit the broadside of the barn on a lot of them, it's not perfect, but like when you accept the fact that you're drafting a guy who is a good defender and who is going to need a lot of work, is very raw offensively, and you're dropping him into an offensive setting where there's not a ton of like creators for big men. I like Jordan Poole as a passer, but he's not necessarily like Chris Paul or whatever. So Sarr is not getting set up for a lot of like easy traditional big man looks. I think it's easier to like stomach how his box score numbers look right now.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I mean his 43 true shooting whatever is extremely deflated by those like high volume threes at 20%. Like he's not shooting well at the rim or in the intermediate, but it's not like disastrously bad. Like he's shooting normal rookie bad from, inside the arc and just like hilariously bad from 3. But I think everything else, like I've tweeted about this a bunch already. Like his playmaking has been really impressive this year. Like I definitely thought he had some flashes. I think I ended up with Sarr at 2. I had him for 1 for most of the cycle and flipped him for Ron towards the end because I decided to not be a coward and go with my gut.
Over this.
But yeah, Sarr, I think his playmaking off of the short roll has been excellent. Like he's processing the floor really well in space. And I also really want to shout out like the Wizards and Brian Keefe and Dawkins and just like all these guys for building an environment where it's like clear that developing these guys, stands the whole Kuzma bullshit.
Yeah, it was a good environment.
It was. See, like I had this whole thing planned. It's like because it's like Keefe before the season was very open about like, yeah, we're not going to be amazing this year. We're gonna focus on these young guys. We know it's important, and I do think like that's important for buy-in. Not to salt in the wounds or anything, but just like compare it to like a team like the Bulls, who it's like we're gonna try to win. It doesn't matter. We're trying to win games, we're trying to sell tickets, make the playoffs. Where it's like, it definitely must be refreshing, and you can see it even for a guy like Jordan Poole, who's like playing with a totally rejuvenated energy despite his team being awful. It's like, yeah, like it's like they're not bullshitting us about like what the goals are, about what the plan is, and like the Wizards' offense is really well built. There's a lot of motion. It's pretty organized. I think Keefe and them have done a good job of putting the rookies in spots. And with Sarr, like a lot of that has looked like the short roll opportunities where he's really thriving. He's been empowered to grab and go in transition where he's had some really, really interesting moments. Like I think the offense was always going to be a project with Sarr. Like he was always really far away on offense, but some of the flashes of like the drive, like the stuff off, like the stuff that he can do off of like taking guys off the dribble, like at his size,
he's
really, really enticing. And like guarding everyone, like he got like dunked on by Bam or like Duran in the last game, like that Pistons game. But obviously he's a 19-year-old and he's not very strong yet. But the mobility he has at his size is just freaky, and that combined with his like great shot blocking instincts, and just like it's like most rookies are bad on defense, but like all things considered, I think Sarr's defense has been really, really encouraging to this point, even if it's like a lot of, he's definitely going to have to improve on offense. I think as like a finisher, I just want to see him be more like confident and aggressive. Yeah. He's always had issues with like not loving contact. Mm-hmm. I think it's better than it was a year ago. It's still not great in terms of his willingness to absorb contact. Like he'll catch the ball under the basket and instead of just like going...
Oh shit! He got
knocked my glass out.
Fake shot.
This is a guy who raised his contact. He's hitting himself.
See, like instead of being physical and knocking your glasses off, he likes to like, reset, take a dribble, try a hook shot, and I think that those are things that like hopefully can just get corrected with age and like maturity and going. Yeah, I'm very Sarr-pilled. I think like. All things considered, his like impact has been quite good, even though he can't score just because of like the passing and the defense.
Yeah, Pablo, what do you think?
I'll tell you what. I was, I kept Sarr at number 1, and then when he was like, I don't want to go to Atlanta, I want to go to Washington, and then the summer league, I was so like, funny. This is not going to go well. This is a guy who doesn't know who he is. This is a guy who's like,
but they're playing him almost exclusively at center.
They
clearly got through to him somehow.
Yeah, they definitely did. And so I was terrified. I was like, this is gonna be a wannabe Kobe type guy, and it's gonna go completely off the rails. But that's not what's happening. It's been incredible.
I was expecting like a bunch of kind of shitty minutes with JV, Sarr at the 4. Valanciunas and Sarr have played 25 minutes together. Mm-hmm. Like.
And they they cannot play off each other. So it's good.
No, they cannot.
Away from it.
Right, but I'm pleasantly surprised, which is also funny because I feel like Sarr would have been so perfect with this Hawks core.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say next. I find myself daydreaming. Oh, what if Trae Young had Dyson Daniels and Sarr? When did the Daniels trade happen? Did they know already? Did they have Sarr or no pre-draft?
Was it? Or actually, no. It must have been later in the.
I'll look it up. If you guys yap.
But yeah,
It was July 6th. So
Trey
Okay.
Young with an elite defensive wing and an elite center
no, that's
backing
what
him
I'm
up,
saying.
who
But I'm like,
might have been able to shoot.
like,
Oh my god, what a dream!
again, another reason just to ignore all the pre-draft rumblings and all the like. It's like, oh, he doesn't want to play center, and it's like he gets to an NBA team and his coach is like, you're gonna play center. And he plays center. Like,
Yeah. The other, I mean, the only thing we haven't touched on, like, just like, and we have touched on it defensively, is specifically like him. He's had a few games. The game they played against the Raptors very early in the season, back when Scotty was still playing, he had several possessions on Scotty where it was like, uh, this like Scotty is an all-star and he can't do anything. Like he can't get past this fucking guy. And then there was a game against the Celtics as well where, I mean, it's Jason Tatum, and this was back when like he was like 50% pulling up from 3 really early in the season, and one of those games was because he did like 7 on Alex Sarr, it felt like. But it was very like game 7 Philly Boston, where same with Embiid when Tatum had 50. Embiid was like forcing him into tough shots, and Tatum was just like burying these insane 3-pointers. And Sarr had a very similar performance where it's like Tatum was, you know, testing the waters with the dribble a little bit, and it was going nowhere. And so yeah, there's just been a lot of very impressive individual stuff like that I've liked. How do you feel about Bub Carrington?
Bub's been awesome, man. I love him. I don't know if I'm as like high on him currently in future as some people, but like he was such a fun player to watch in college, and he's been really good. And like he was one of the youngest players in the draft. He's recently 19, right? Like he looks very composed out there
Yeah.
on the offensive end. Like he is very smart, good decision maker, very patient. Like he just kind of like chills when he has the ball. Like he'll dribble in space, he'll wait for windows to open up. I think he's had some really fun chemistry with both Valanciunas and Sarr as like a cutter, with both of those guys as like hub passers. Been kind of cool to see Jonas play in like a different role than he's played in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and buy in as well. But Bub, yeah, just like very, very patient. Obviously, the shot I think hasn't been like incredible. Yeah, actually, no, he's shooting like 39% from 3, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I was gonna touch on that. On like, so among rookies, and this is the part where like we talked about sheer volume, because he's playing so much, his stuff is gonna look good, but the efficiency is not guaranteed there. And so
Mm-mm.
on 2.5 pull-up threes a game, he is 39%, and then he's still 38% on nearly 2 catch and shoot attempts. So
Yeah,
if you compare,
only one rookie guard is more efficient than him.
maybe we'll get to him in like 5-10 minutes. Yeah, I did just want to ask, like, so I don't do a lot of prospect stuff. I was not locked into him as a prospect. Was his Pablo's mentioned that like his shooting is kind of what popped when you watched him? Has he always been, did you expect him to be this good? Like as a pick and roll ball handler, he's really blown me away. With like he gets guys on his back hip and he just consistently sets other people up for really good looks. He's like 5 assists to less than 2 turnovers right now, while doing a lot of like pretty high level like wraparound bounce pass shit to Valanciunas or whoever on the roll. Is that something that you expected to be there right away?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say the main concerns with Bub, and I'd say still are like the rim frequency, the physicality, which is he's getting better. He's a 19-year-old. Like, what are you gonna do, right? He's still not getting to the basket, but Bub was like as a freshman last year at Pitt, he was like north of 2 assist to turnover ratio, 24 assist rate. So he was a guy he's just a very, very smart pick and roll passer. And like you said, I think it stems from a lot of his comfort with the ball. Like he's not afraid of like dribbling into traffic and waiting for windows to open. And he has great vision, like you said. And he's a very good pick and roll passer. And he's great at like blending his shot and his dribble, because he is such a threat to pull up, and defenses know that and like are aware of that. So his offense, like, yeah, I don't know exactly how high I think the ceiling is. Honestly, like I still have to think about it more. But his passing, yeah, I think I expected it to be good, and it honestly, I'd say everything is a little better than I expected at this stage. Like maybe by the end of his rookie year, I thought he'd get to this point, but it is really encouraging that he's looking like this level of passer and score. And of course, like you said, it's the playing time. But yeah, he didn't have to be efficient. Like he doesn't have to be efficient. Like he's just below league average efficiency, which is very, very good for a rookie guard.
Yeah. Pablo, what do you think?
Yeah, he was a guy I went through a big phase of him as a prospect last year. Like when I first started watching him, I was like, oh my God, this guy's great. And I was watching Tyrese Halliburton tear up the league, and I was like, you know what? Maybe you literally don't need to be able to get to the rim yourself. Maybe you could be a great player just by shooting and passing. But obviously, and then I kind of fell out of love with him because I was just like, the rim finishing was a big concern for me. And then the passing numbers were really good in college, but I thought he wasn't as good as the numbers suggested. I think
that's probably fair as well. Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah, he like the numbers would tell you he was like Trae Young or like Tyrese Halliburton or something. Like he wasn't crazy. He was just pretty good to me. But and so at the end, I think I ended up not being that high on him. And now, like you said, Ben, I'm watching him as a rookie, and he is really good, but I still feel like the ceiling may not quite be there. But also, I might just be underrating him, because if you're super productive as a freshman in college basketball, then he went to Summer League, and he did really good at Summer League, and then now he's doing good as a rookie already. Like if this guy just keeps producing and keeps succeeding, like maybe it doesn't matter.
No, I definitely have that same kind of thought process as you, right? Like I watch it on tape and I'm like, maybe it's not like, there are problems I have with him, obviously, but you think about it and it's like, yeah, he's been really successful and productive at a young age at every level, and those are very valuable indicators. Like I certainly get being high on him, even if I'm maybe not as high as some people. Like he's a very impressive player, and credit to him, credit to the Wizards for empowering him and putting him in positions to succeed, and credit to him for succeeding. I think they've built a good core there. I think they've built a good environment for prospects to succeed. Like, we've seen Bilal make big strides. It's a good spot, and I think Bub deserves a lot of credit. Like he's certainly been, I'd say, like, I don't know, top 3 to 5. Like, if I were to make a rookie ladder right now, which I will do at some point because I do that monthly, he'd definitely be in the top 3 to 5 guys.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Tari Eason and the men had him in hell though the other night.
Oh my God.
just as they do to literally everyone.
That doesn't happen every single time the Rockets.
Oh my God. I gotta watch Giannis from last night. I didn't do it. He was like 20 points on 17 shots and 8 turnovers. Game. Oh my God. Was it Tari? Did Tari do it to him?
It was Brooks.
Yes, but he was also just like very off and didn't score until like midway through the second quarter. And then he was fine by the end. But yeah, I mean, Rockets defense, amazing. Shout out to him.
Yeah. Okay. So the Wizards trio, they hit. Shout out to the Denny trade. Like that's not a trade I would expect a franchise that's had the history the Wizards have had to make. It doesn't feel
and to go well.
Yeah. Like if they do that, it's usually okay. Denny's the most improved player next year, and Bub is like off the team within 3 seasons.
Yeah, like I didn't love that trade because I thought
it was a disaster for them.
Just because I'm credit the Wizards for maybe knowing that their own guy was kind of fluky and like but
Yeah. All right, Pablo, I'll give the floor to you next. We could talk any rookie you want to talk about, where you want to go.
Let's do the real Maverick, Mr. McCain himself, Jared McCain, because John McCain was the Maverick. He was known by that.
I should have painted my nails for this.
You should have. That would have been a good bit.
Jared McCain is the story of this year so far. And just to point out, he is a guy who did go after pick 13. The geniuses in the Bulls subreddit, they assured me no one available at pick 13 could be better than Josh Giddey, who is now currently being benched in crunch time because he's so bad. And now Jared McCain would literally alter my life. He would change my life for the better. I would be a better person. I would have fewer skin if I had Jared McCain on my team.
You are a brave soul, friend.
Yeah. So what's McCain? Is he at 5 straight 20-point performances?
All right. I want to start this off quickly, if I can, with a quick aside. I'm going to read you off the NBA players this year that are scoring above 25 points per 75 possessions on 60 true shooting and shooting 5 times at the game at the basket.
Oh,
The
what is
names
Bryson?
are the names are Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Karl Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic, and Jared McCain.
Ooh,
Those are the names.
pretty good
Pretty good
company.
names.
All I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm just presenting the data
Hey,
Wait,
can't argue with
per
numbers.
what possession?
per 75.
Oh, per 100, Bryce said 19.7. So
Oh, so close.
Damn, we just gotta get those possessions.
Almost there.
That's all it is.
and that's half the battle, man.
Yeah. I mean, McCain. I don't know. I feel like anyone who cares about like young players in the NBA is probably pretty familiar with like how. I mean, he has exploded, and especially over the past like 24 hours with the reports coming out about like the players meeting and Embiid being late and Maxey being frustrated and all this stuff.
Oh, I missed this. Where was this? Where was this post?
Shams dropped a
Where have you
report.
been, dog?
Shams dropped
I'm
a
on Blue Sky.
I yeah, there was a report that the Sixers had a players meeting after they dropped to 2-11 against the Miami Heat, where McCain had his 5th straight 20-point game. Not his fault. Yeah, and
Not his fault. of course.
Maxey called out Embiid for always being late to like team stuff, and it was affecting like
That's so
yeah.
crazy.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna like. The vibes are just bad. I'm not gonna like harp on that a ton, but the
Yeah.
vibes with McCain are like that's the only bright spot in the Sixers.
I mean, he's like one of the highest. He might be the highest vibe prospect to come out of the draft since Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
It's literally probably true because like you get a vibes bonus when you're that late. Like if you're good and you're a late pick, the vibes are already sick. But to be like so happy and have such like a
Very The Sixers have figured out the strategy is just like to draft all of the guards who like smile a lot.
Is there anyone this year?
That's a good question. I don't know as much about the
Freaking DEMIN is
personalities.
Russian. No chance he's smiling.
No chance he's smiling. Yeah, I don't know as much about the personalities of these guards, but there's definitely no one to the level of Maxey or McCain in terms of smiliness, in terms of how jovial and full of life they are.
Yeah.
That's got to be so frustrating for Embiid because it is valid that it's like you're taking all this time off, you're being lazy or whatever, but he's like, but you guys know I'm like 10 times better than you. I'm like literally one of the best guys in the world. I literally had to carry us when I had Bell's palsy. Like my eye couldn't close and I was still better than you. I still dropped 50 and you're really coming to me now. How about you guys do something? How about just get me there? Just do something to get me there and I'll be good. Like I'm 28 or whatever. We know what I can do.
Yeah.
There was a play in that Heat game last night, in the second quarter, where it was a McCain Joel pick and roll, and the Heat like trapped McCain on the ball and left Joel open for the mid range, which he made. And it's like, this is where we're at. I mean, I think that's also as much of a comment on Joel as currently as it is about McCain, but like that defenses feel the need to sell out to pressure McCain, and that he's made great decisions. Like he's not turning the ball over or anything. I think like well over 2 assist to turnover ratio so far. And the most impressive thing to me about McCain that I did not expect, because I was pretty high on McCain. I will victory lap this lightly. I was kind of pumping up McCain as a potential high ceiling bet that I don't think people were giving him credit for. And then, what's happening is happening. But his ability to get to the rim is surprising to me. Like I did not think it would be this good. Let's just look at just some numbers. Last year at Duke, 24-ish% of his shots came at the rim. This year in the NBA, it's around 36. Like I said in that query earlier, he's shooting 6.4 times at the rim per 75 possessions. That's in the 83rd percentile. He's not finishing particularly well, but like just creating that rim pressure for him was always like one of the reasons I didn't view him as like a superstar prospect. And the fact that he's doing it in the way that he's doing it, and obviously, you know, him getting all the shots that he's getting is helpful, but like he's so efficient. Like he is a bucket. He's good on and off the ball. And I think his defense has been kind of solid enough. Like he to me, like if I, you know, if the season ended after 10 games, he's a rookie of the year.
Yeah.
But like
it's hard. Everyone else, you're kind of setting up the argument to beat McCain at this point, where it's like, okay, well, is Bub Carrington's 5 assists better than like McCain willing the Sixers into like 5 or 6 straight games that they end up losing? But still, like, yeah, it's not just the fact that he's driving, it's the fact that like everyone goes out for the Sixers and they're staring at Paul George, Mr. $50 million, and he can't fucking dribble anymore. And they're like, what's going to happen?
Dirty work. Dribbling is dirty work. So,
well, yeah, I mean, everything, I don't know. We could talk about Paul George at a later date, but they're looking to him, and then Maxey is just like, no, I could drive. I could just be the engine real quick. And it's
one more insane stat with the paint stuff. These are the guards this year with more attempts at the rim per 75 than McCain. It's Shea, Jaden Ivey, Scoot, Ja Morant, Cade, and Shaden Sharp. That's it.
Jaden Ivey.
I'm dead, dude. That's so Pablo's face just lights
Anyways,
up.
not to interrupt you again, but McCain is dope.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's he's just so cool, and so yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised by all the same stuff you're surprised by, but I don't like do a ton of research on this stuff. So my surprise is strictly off the fact that like pre-draft coverage is like, this guy can't dribble. Oh my God, what a shooter. But like, there's no other aspect to his offense. And so, yeah.
And that was never accurate. I think there were definite limitations with the athleticism and his ability to get downhill, but like he was always a good ball handler. Like really, he was always really good at keeping guys on his back. And you see him winning with the same kind of craft that he's been able to win that he won with in college, right? Like with his footwork and his fakes and his ability to put guys in jail. And he's a really strong player, like really, really strong for his age.
Him and Lowry on the floor at the same time. It's like the thickest backcourt in the league. I swear to God.
That is a very, very thick backcourt. Yeah, like his passing has been good to me. Like it's not like he's not like an incredible passer or anything. Like his volume in terms of passing, he's probably always going to be a guy who like looks to score first, and that's fine because he's a damn good shooter. But like he's shown the ability to make some basic kind of like skips and kickouts and stuff off of his drives. And you know, I think there's a couple assists that he's had where, you know, maybe they're slightly lucky, but like regardless, what he's done, I think as a driver is just like totally exceeding my expectations. Everything else I'd say isn't like crazy surprising. I guess like this level of efficiency is probably more than I would have tabbed him at, but like, man, if he really is driving like this and consistently getting to the basket, even if the finishing isn't great yet, like the ceiling probably is higher than even I thought.
Yeah. Pablo?
Yeah. And if he becomes an all-star, then maybe you can even trade Tyrese Maxey for somebody else.
Whoa, is that a Pablo original? Damn.
I actually got that.
Let's see if they can get off the Embiid and Paul George albatrosses.
Yeah, I like Jared McCain too. I probably was not as gung ho about the overall ceiling as you, but I was optimistic about the overall scoring potential. I actually went back to an episode we did with Jackson Frank, because he brought this up specifically because we were asked him about him, and he was like, he was like, and Jackson Frank didn't watch him in college, but he asked me, he's like,
Jackson got so owned. Oh,
Jackson Frank, he was like an idiot that we just like brought on to make fun of, pretty much.
He got so cooked.
No, he was like, he doesn't really get to the rim, right? He's like, he doesn't add anything there. And I went to the moment because I was like, oh my God, this is going to be such a good clip for me. I'm going to put this on TikTok and I'm going to look like a genius. Because I was like, well, he's got a little Jalen Brunson to his game. He's got thickness in his lower body. He could get stop and go, but I actually wasn't that firm in my conviction in the clip. So I was like,
you should have been firmer in your conviction. That was a great call.
I was like, I said, well, he compares himself to Jalen Brunson a lot, and I do think he has, playing off that 2 feet and like the little mass game. But I said, like, definitely won't be doing that rookie year, but like few years down the line, I was like, okay, we'll figure it. No one remembers that.
I definitely did see McCain as one of the more NBA ready guys in the draft. Like that's the thing I definitely did say before the time was like I felt like he was one of the solely on account of just the crazy shooting. Like he's going to be able to hit shots right away and do enough with the ball. But yeah, like
he's crazy skilled relocating already.
Yeah, I mean, all of the 3-point, and it's weird because like when I was looking at him and Bub, how Bub his split between like pull-ups and catch and shoot is pretty even. McCain's terrible at pull-ups right now. He's like 27%, but he's like 50% on like damn near like for rookies especially volume catch and shoot stuff.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at this. He's 47.8% on 3.5 attempts per game catch and shoot, like 28% on pull-ups, but he is shooting 57% on pull-up mid-ranges, which is usually indicates that the 3-point shooting is going to normalize.
Okay.
Mikal Bridges I saw today. Isn't he shooting like insane from mid-range right now?
Yeah.
I can check right now for you.
I think like 2 attempts, but he's like 70% from mid-range.
He's shooting from on 2-pointers outside of 5 feet, he's shooting 63.5%. That's 100th percentile.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
On above the break threes, he's like the worst guy in the league, pretty much.
Yeah, he's shooting 31% from 3 right now, just as a whole.
Okay. All right. So we got Kane in here. I suppose we could talk about these guys in tandem because they are pretty similar. Huge, giant.
Can I guess? Oh, I was gonna guess even before you said that Edey and Clingan.
Two big bumbling fucks. Not really. I mean, the draft made Edey sound like we were getting Boban Marjanovic, and like it's been a lot better than. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Holy shit, I didn't expect this at all," and like I didn't really have a firm opinion on Edey coming in, but he's looked. Like him and Clingan have both looked really solid. Clingan is frustrating because you have Ayton in front of him, so like the minutes are a bit more.
But he's going away now, isn't he? What happened to Ayton?
He's going away for a very long time. I don't know.
It's something bizarre. Let me check.
What's happening with Ayton?
Okay.
I don't know.
Pablo. Here, so they're both really good. They're both really good screeners. They're both really good impactful rebounders right now. They're both pretty damn good like touch finishing guys inside the restricted area. And then I definitely like Clingan. And this I wrote down, it could strictly just be like an activity thing. I don't know what the real effectiveness of both of them is, but like Clingan with his hands when he's playing defense, he's like always moving his hands around, being like, oh, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas Edey...
Definitely better than Edey, I think.
Edey just stands still until it's time to block the shot, pretty much. Like, he's so stoic, so that, like, purely from an eye test perspective, it's like, okay, well, Clingan's better because he's trying so much harder. But yeah, Clingan has looked insane defensively, and then Edey, just with, like, how people acted. People are like, a 7'4" guy has no place in the league, blah, blah, blah. It's been a lot better than, like... I don't know. It was projected to be from my perspective. It didn't seem like people were super high on him. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I was definitely on the lower end on Edey coming in, and I still do have some of these mobility concerns. I think they've definitely showed up so far, and like they'll continue to show up, but it's not to the point where he's like a disaster. And my thing with being low on Edey was always a ceiling question, just in terms of, like how much impact is this guy having as a starter in the playoffs eventually, right? It wasn't a question of like, do I think he can be a good NBA player? Because he definitely, I think, is showing that like he is already a ridiculously good interior scorer, which, I mean, it should probably be expected given what he was able to do in college, right? Like he's already very, very efficient, like shooting 73% at the rim. The free throws haven't gone in as much as we kind of hoped they would, but I'm hoping that will.
Pointers. It's the reverse. People are usually good at free throws, and they can get to the threes.
I do not give a shit about wide open threes like that. I don't care, man. Like once defenses actually start closing out to him, and like that becomes a thing, then I will care. But every single one of his threes is just like no one near him, and it's good that he's taking them. It's good that he's willing. That is true. But I think there's definitely a disconnect for me between like that and it's like, oh, he's a shooter now. It's like, well, like,
Yeah,
is Jonas Valanciunas a shooter aside from that one game where he hit like 8 threes? Remember that?
I do. Yes, he's always been.
Aside from that,
Last year, the whole run he had in New Orleans, it was like, okay, he's still at 37%. That's kind of crazy, but
right, exactly. But it's on like one attempt a game or like less than an attempt a game at times, and it's like defenses don't pay him shooter attention. But anyways, I don't want to make this shitting on Edey because like he has been good, and I think definitely, like I said, also in the top 5 in terms of like impact rookies, up there with Clingan and Sarr and McCain and Carrington. I think. I don't think he's like has been good of a defender as like Sarr or Clingan.
Yeah,
especially recently with like the recent stretch that Clingan's been on is just absolutely crazy. He had their Portland's second win in a row against Minnesota at home. He had 8 blocks and 5 in the fourth quarter. Like he just shut the water off on Minnesota. Like he was unbelievable with timing his shots, like timing his blocks, using his hands, like you said, like his mobility, like you can still pull him out in space and make him move. Like he's definitely not the most amazing there, but it's like good enough to where it's not a huge problem.
It's better than I thought it would be. Like the first time it happened, he looks like a guy that when he's like in the paint, you're like, that's going to be really bad. And then he got switched out onto like a wing.
I think for Edey, it's like, you know, most of the time it's like, yeah, this guy's kind of a statue. He's, you know, just like sitting back and drop every once in a while. Like he had a play against Jamal Murray where he like stepped up and blocked.
It's not
him.
impressive.
Sorry,
it's fake.
Yeah, that's really
but
easy.
But like, you know, it's like, oh my god, he's moving. Whereas with Clingan, it's like, okay, it's like multiple times a game. He's like, yeah, okay, he can hang in space a little more than your average 7-2 guy. But you know, difference, he is definitely smaller. And yeah, Clingan literally leading the league in block rate, 13.1%, as we kind of alluded to. He's only playing 16 minutes per game, right, at the moment. Conditioning has always been an issue for him, and it'll
0 under Will Hardy.
It's because he's got to get that burned.
Dude, Will Hardy actually would hate him. He hates Walker Kessler, so he definitely hate Clingan. But Clingan, to me, like on a per minute basis, very, very strong argument that he's been the most impactful rookie so far, and just like such a welcome addition for the Blazers. I just wrote about the Blazers defense for work the other day, and they are like
Kamara. Oh, what a man!
I love Tumani. They're an awesome defense, top 15 defense so far. Or like I think 12, 13 whenever I wrote that thing, and a lot of it is because they're able to funnel shots into Clingan and protect the paint the way that they do. So yeah, Clingan again, like same with Clingan and Edey, like don't know exactly what the ceilings are going to be, but in their own ways, I think I definitely prefer Clingan. I think long term, but in their own ways, are both going to be impactful players. I think.
Pablo.
So the DeAndre Ayton thing is he injured his index finger, which I took. Yeah, I took to be like, go home, DeAndre. And so, but so he hurt his index finger. He missed a few games, and now I'm pulling up an article. DeAndre Ayton's injury could be worse than originally expected.
Oh, no.
And so he's missed 3 straight games, and they say, while it seems like a minor injury, we learned on Sunday that it's worse. He underwent imaging on the index finger, which revealed a deep contusion of the proximal phalanx, and he'll be considered day-to-day until we get an update. So it would be the most DeAndre Ayton thing ever to lose like months or whatever from an index finger injury. But as many games as he's out, literally we all win. I mean, his trade value will be okay as you get further away from seeing
I think
court and Clingan gets more minutes and then Scoot will have a real screener. We all win.
Make a comparison between Ayton and Edey and Clingan in that I feel like with Edey for the moment, and definitely how I feel it's going to be with him, and with Ayton, but way more extreme. It's like he'll make some really impressive defensive plays, but on a play-to-play basis, it's just like not the same level. Whereas Clingan, it's like every play, every time they drive at him, he's making an impact. I'm on a website called NBA RIPM, which has a bunch of cool data, which is interesting. They have Edey at, when he's contesting at the rim, opponents shoot 4% better than their average. And when he's on the floor, the Grizzlies give up 6.1%, worse efficiency. That's also because of that, on-off stats are wonky. Jaren Jackson, all of that good stuff. Clingan, however, when we look at the same contesting metrics, opponents are shooting 11.5% lower than their average when Clingan contests them at the rim. And I think that checks out with what we're watching.
Yeah.
He gave Julius Randle problems. And Randle definitely had moments where he was able to, just power through him because he's a rookie and Randle is a very strong player. But he was giving him hell, had a couple big blocks on him in the fourth quarter. Clingan's defensive impact, I think, is I expected him to be a very good defender. Also a guy who I'd say is outplaying even my, I had pretty decent expectations. I thought Clingan was a very good prospect and he's playing his ass off right now. Shout out to him.
Victory lap by an idiot who just happened to be right. I wanted the Hawks to take Clingan. I was like, damn.
That would have been so good too.
I definitely did not want it to happen, but I was on the record saying I'd much prefer them have Clingan to Risa share.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we don't have to dunk all over Zachy Riz right now, but
I was gonna say, if we're gonna be poo-pooing Sar's true shooting, we can't be Risa shares 48 true shooting. It's why aren't we
Sar
same energy?
didn't do any of the defense stuff? What if Sar had 2 plays a game where you could be like, damn, his feel is crazy. Did you see that cut?
To be fair, Risa shares defense has been pretty impressive in the games that I've caught. But yes,
Sar was back in front, I was the most athletic guy. Now I'm just normal guy. That's Risa came out saying, that's not what I want to hear from number one.
Wait, what did he say?
He said, back in France, I was the most athletic guy. Here, I'm just a normal guy. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness, that's unbelievable. But yeah, this. I don't know if we're actually going to talk about Risa, but yeah, the same defensive contesting metrics him. I think he's been an impactful defender. Offense has been a real struggle. I think the shot will level out, but he was not a great offensive prospect, and I think it's clear.
I always, when people were he's like Michael Porter Jr., I was like, Michael Porter Jr. is the best. That's a high bar right now for this guy.
That's one of the guys who I feel is in that just do not comp to Michael Porter Jr. How Draymond is that way. It's if anyone's getting comped to Draymond, it's just what are you doing? Even though I think Cooper Flagg might be the best Draymond comp player of all time, even though I don't think he's that close to Draymond. He's closer than anybody else.
Okay.
What about Garuba?
Where it's oh my goodness, I love Garuba, man. Or it's even don't compare guys to Michael Porter Jr. It's that guy is just one of one in his own good and bad ways.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, Risa Share was he was always Otto Porter plus to me. Was my image of Risa Share.
Yeah, I saw someone on Twitter the other. It actually might have been Mike Gribinov who was like, man, if Garuba was just with this Rockets defense, maybe it could have been different. Just give it up, man. It's over.
I respect your commitment to this bit. I also love Garuba and want him to succeed. And
where is he now? He's overseas or something, right?
I don't think he's with a team right now, which is a shame, man. I think he could bring some value, but there's been some handling flashes for Risa too. He's shown the ability to beat guys off the dribble a little bit, but he's just not explosive or strong enough. And you'd hope with age and it's just time to develop physically. He's a teenager, right?
Yeah,
this is going to improve.
He's got
early returns are this was a guy who I think a lot of people were why is he going number one? And I still think Risa Share can and will be a very solid player. He's one of those guys who he's big, he's a good defender, he just knows how to play, but that's not those aren't the superlatives you want when you're talking about the number.
He did torch the I watched his game against the Knicks, and the Knicks are terrible defensively, but he has a bag of old man fakes where he'll get in the paint and he'll fake you out of your shoes, and Karl Anthony Towns,
he can do some stuff,
just not figure it out. It was so bad. So yeah, he had 31 in that game just because Cat was oh, he's gonna
savant.
He's gonna shoot. Oh damn it, he held it.
It's damn, he got me with his devil tricks.
All right. The only other names I have written down, we did Edey, we did Clingan, we did Sar, we did McCain, Carrington. I have Connect, Jalen Wells, and then I don't have that much on YVES MISSI, but he has been pretty cool. So
I wanted to talk about MISSI.
All right, let's do.
And after there's one big guy missing.
Okay, let's do MISSI, and then let's do
Who are we
this guy.
missing?
We'll see, Ben. It's a tease. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna think about it, and so I'll be surprised when we get to it.
The only thing I really wrote down about MISSI, I don't have any like numbers or anything, but like it was cool for a second when the Pels were like, we need a center, and then we can make the playoffs. And Yves MISSI was like, I'm a center right now. I'm like Derek Lively. I could be like a good center right now. And then everyone else on the Pelicans fell apart. They turned
Huge shame.
turned to ash, and so it's just a storyline that doesn't really matter anymore. But he has been good. He's fun to watch. He's a crazy athlete. And he tries his ass off on every possession. I'll give him that.
Yeah. MISSI very, very much with a lot of his issues, just like a victim of circumstance, right? Like he doesn't really have guys to pass him the ball. Like he doesn't. There aren't very many other good defenders healthy on the team. Like it's just like he's kind of screwed. It kind of is what it is. But like he is a honest. Like I think there was the draft. Mike Gribinov and some other people on draft Twitter do like a draft Twitter consensus board every year. And I think I was literally the highest of anyone on MISSI. I had him 8 on my final board.
Damn.
And my point in saying this is not to flex my wins because it's early.
Holy shit.
But it's just to say that like even I am kind of surprised that MISSI looks this comfortable on defense already. He was a guy who I liked a lot for his ceiling. I tend to value these ceiling-y bets, and MISSI is just a very athletic guy, crazy movement skills. Had some games in college where he was just utterly dominant on the defensive end because of his ability to like step out and guard the perimeter as well. And that's kind of been the case in the league much earlier than I expected it to be. Like he looks better in terms of his feel and his positioning. And like you said, Jack, he's just like such a crazy athlete that he can make up for his own errors because he can jump higher than everyone else. And he's not like the tallest guy. He's like 6'10", 6'11". He's not like a short center by any means, but he's not like
what is his
huge,
wingspan?
like Clingan or Edey necessarily. What
is his wingspan? Let me see.
I think it's like reasonable. I don't think it's like unbelievable or anything, but
he has a couple where he's just like cocked it back and like
plays
a mile swift, and it's like, damn, like his arms just seem longer. I don't know.
Maybe they are. I honestly don't remember. So Pablo, you want to check that for us?
Wingspan. Let's see.
It's 7'2" wingspan. Okay,
that's pretty good. But yeah, like he had some. I remember in one of the Magic games recently, he had some really good defensive possessions on Franz. He had some good possessions on Mobley somewhat recently, defending him. Like he's just a freakish physical talent who I feel like is adapting to the speed of the NBA quicker than I necessarily thought he would. I think it's really, really impressive, especially given the situation. Like it would have been totally justified for MISSI to be awful, and I probably would have made excuses for him because of how disastrous this Pelican situation was. Like, it's like, oh yeah, it's of course a raw 20-year-old is terrible on a terrible team with everyone injured. But like, no, he's been one of their best players this year, which is, again, not saying a ton given the health of that roster. Like
Brandon Boston Jr. Damn, dude.
Who has been kind of solid.
I don't mean to shit on Brandon Boston. He torched the Nuggets. He's 15 against the Nuggets. Let me chill.
Well, yeah, but
whoa.
Anyways, MISSI like
okay.
Was Aaron Gordon there or
no? Okay, but Christian Brown was.
Oh,
I think MISSI.
That okay.
MISSI's size isn't like. You definitely do notice MISSI's lack of size at times. Like he's below 60% as a finisher, which he's a rookie, of course, but he's not the most amazing in terms of going up and just muscling through players. He's shooting around 65% at the rim in the half court. Interestingly, he's shooting worse when you factor. He's shooting worse when you factor in transition and putbacks, which is usually not how that goes. That's kind of abnormal. But some of which is part of why I was really intrigued by him. Like some of the flashes of the driving that we've seen from MISSI, like taking guys off the dribble, attacking space out of a short roll. He's had a couple really impressive drives on the season so far, where it's like him coming from the corner and him isolating and as a face-up guy. I don't know if he's just like a star ceiling or anything on offense, just because he's a rim running center, I'd say, with some extra stuff, and it can be a really good one. Like his catch radius is enormous. Like you talked about, like the Stromile Swift, like he will like Odell Beckham reach his arm back to like snare some passes, because like Ingram is definitely a willing lob passer, but not the most accurate playmaker in the world, I'd say. And obviously, when BJ Boston or like, I don't know, Jamal Cain or Jalen Noel are passing to him, it's not as clean.
Yeah.
But like,
is Javonte Green still in New Orleans? I feel like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty well, but he's also not really a guy who passes the ball, nor really scores. He's a defense and energy guy, Pablo knows.
Oh, I would die for him.
Pablo, you have any MISSI thoughts, or you want to bring up your mystery man?
Not much on MISSI. All I'll say is he's a very loud rookie. When he's out there, you feel him. And so that's good. But
for better or for worse.
My mystery rookie, you said if Rookie of the Year happened today, it'd be Jared McCain. If it happened like 5 games ago, it would have been Ryan Dunn. He was.
Oh, duh! I thought you were talking about like a center. I'm like,
no. Who even? I don't even know who would that be.
That's why I was confused.
But no. So Ryan Dunn, he shook the entire draft community. He shook the world at the beginning of the season, because everyone's like, this guy could hardly shoot free throws 6 months ago or whatever, and now he's splashing 40% from 3 on volume, and he's saving this Phoenix team that had no depth. He's looking like everyone knew he was a spectacular defender, but it seems the jumper has come down to earth. He's at 32%. He's had a couple really bad out. I think he went like 2 or 3 of 16 over the course of 2 games. Last game, 1 for 4, 0 for 1, 1 for 9, 2 for 7. So he's had some stinkers. So where are we at with Ryan Dunn?
I have a Ryan Dunn take. And it's that I feel like people, like, honestly, like the fact that he's sustained this volume, and yes, he's had some stinkers, but like he's still at 35% on catch and shoot threes on 83 attempts already this season. Like, my mind is beyond blown in terms of what he's doing as a shooter. And it's not even just like he'll do some stuff like catching and shooting contested shots quickly, or like light movement or range threes. Like, it is insanely impressive to me. His defense has been very good, but like honestly a little worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, he's not forcing, which is really strange. And I need to watch more of him closely. That like, I think he's still been one of the most impactful rookies just because of the spacing, and like he has been a good defender, but not like the game breaking way that I necessarily anticipated. But yeah, like the 3-point volume, I think like the fact that he's still doing it even when the shots aren't falling is definitely impressive to me. And I give Bud a lot of credit, obviously. And obviously just Dunn as well. Like 8.3 attempts per 75 possessions. That ranks him 50th in the entire NBA. Let me just read you the guys directly below, or just so a couple other players with 8.3 threes per 75. James Harden, Trae Young, Jalen Suggs.
Damn.
Right below him, Kevin Huerter, Julian Champagnie, Austin Reeves, Tyrese Halliburton, Cam Thomas, fellow rookie Dalton Connect, Darius Garland. Like, he is getting them up confidently. And at least the Suns aren't a team I've watched a ton of, especially after the Durant injury. Yeah. But it seems like defenses are respecting him more as a shooter than I thought. And like his offense outside of shooting is just as rough as I kind of imagined it would be. Like, there isn't much outside of like catch and shoots, but he's been willing to try some like pull up mid-range floater stuff. It hasn't gone particularly well, but like the fact that he's been willing to try that, and to, he's 4 for 10 right now on off dribble mid-range jumpers according to Synergy.
Damn.
What's Bryce at per 75?
Do you want to know?
He's got to scroll for a minute. Let's give him a sec.
What do you mean? No, he wouldn't have to scroll. He's probably
he's taking 6.9 threes per 75, making 36% of them.
Oh.
But I think that's probably like such a low number that the percent is basically,
the percent's lower than it would be. If he had volume, he'd be over 40.
Oh.
Let's see, how many threes has Bryce taken this year?
Not enough.
He is 8 for 22 from 3.
That's pretty good.
He's taken 34 shots this season.
Damn.
60% true shooting.
I like I use the real stats app. You guys know that app?
I honestly don't. I mean, like I know of it, but I've definitely like I've seen people do it. I've never like. Is it worth the hype? Is it
That's
good?
the
Like
black screenshots,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I've definitely seen
I
those.
like it
Yeah,
a lot. It's not like advanced numbers or anything, but really good like live stats. Like
that's
yeah,
good
I use it.
because like NBA, the NBA app stinks for like
Yeah,
everything
this
basically.
updates like like I don't always watch on NBA TV. And so when I'm
What
watching,
do you mean? Where do you watch?
Live, of
sometimes like I'm
course.
scrolling on TikTok and
Wait,
some
what cable
well
subscription do
no,
you
I'll be
have?
scrolling like TikTok lives and like someone will have their camera facing
Wait,
themselves
what do you no?
reacting
What do
to
you
a
mean?
game.
That's not legal.
Well, no, they're not recording the game. They're just talking about what's happening, and
Oh,
they'll be like, "Whoa, Jared McCain just hit a crazy three," and Real will have it 30 seconds before that, and I'll be like, "Damn, dude, this is."
if you saw someone recording the game, you would report them, right?
I always do. I scroll
Okay.
past, I close my eyes so that I don't steal the NBA's intellectual property, and then yeah, I just say, "Hey,
No, we'd never want to upset Mr.
oh
Silver.
my god, I
Hmm.
respect him so much." But yeah, Real.
That's what
The nice
after
thing
his name
about Real is it also
Real.
has true shooting percentage right in the app. Like it's one of the only
Ooh,
stats that like just full on embraces that.
I do like that.
And
Also, want to shout. There's an app called Pivot Fade that does a similar thing.
they just gave
That's
me
good for live stuff.
a
And
pro stats for a month. The guy reached out on Twitter.
yeah,
Pivot Fade.
they're very cool. I have been helping them test the app for quite a while. The coolest thing that they have is like their live lineup features where you can like get real-time lineup data and present it in an easy way. Like it's a cool app. So that's just my tangent. Who are we talking about again?
Ryan Dunn.
And done.
Oh.
Oh, I was gonna say okay, just for like last context on him, 32% coming into the season. That would have been like a good 3-point percentage for him, right? Like he was that
Very,
bad of a shooter.
very good. It was like he was a really historically bad offensive prospect. And even like going back, like I remember I went through like Cerebro Sports' entire database, going back to like his prep stuff in high school and AAU. Like he has like 3 games before the NBA where he shot more than 4 threes. Like, or maybe like a couple in AAU as well. It's like this is a very unprecedented single season, and of course, like the sample is early, but volume tends to stabilize pretty quickly. And I said this in a video I did a while ago. I'm honestly more inclined to believe that this shooting jump is for real than it's not, and for real, and just that like it's good enough, right?
Yeah.
But also like assuming the defense will end up, becoming special again, hopefully. Like I said, I need to watch Dunn more closely, especially on defense to really get a sense of how that is. But like in the Suns games that I've seen, I don't think he's been like special on
Yeah.
defense. He's been very, very good on the ball. Hasn't done as much, he was really good in one of the Clippers games I think it was the last Suns game I watched. He was just like wrecking everything. So maybe he is.
It would be hilarious to be like special, otherworldly defensive prospect, like gonna come in and like wreck guys on that end of the floor, and he sacrifices that. He's fine defensively, and in exchange, now he's 32% from three. That's all you get. You go from like game.
Honestly, might be a less interesting.
Yeah,
player,
it's like
but
a
who knows?
worse guy. But I do think him going 0 for 7 from 3 is like a more productive game than like 40% of the Suns roster in terms of like growing what they need and like moving them in the direction they're trying to go as far as adding depth. So yeah,
and again, like even on these missed threes, it's not like it's not like Ben Simmons, like Giannis, Amen Thompson type shots where they're just like, please shoot. Like
Josh Giddey.
I dare you to shoot. It's like no, like defenses are like defenders are closing out to him. He's just not making the shot. It's like they don't. It's not like we are going to be so happy with you shooting. Like yes, defenses will like play off of him because the Suns have a lot of great shooters that they'd rather guard. But it's not like we are like embarrassed to have to play against you. It's like, oh yeah, we'd rather close out to Tyus or Grayson Allen or Booker, right? Like,
all right.
And so if he finishes if just for his career, He's a competent shooter. He will send ripples through the draft community. He'll become a template where any player for the rest of history will be. Well, wait.
He's gonna get
that
he's
guy's
gonna get
shooting
so many
negative 1,000%.
He's gonna get so many shitty offensive limited wings
Yeah.
drafted higher than they could. So many.
So is there anything tangible to learn from him, or is it just that's something that happened? Literally unpredictable. Throw it to the side, not canon.
My take is always like, this is just again another example, and like I should have taken my own advice and had done higher like than I did. Is just like to bet on the special traits, because like Dunn obviously, and like I said, withstanding had obvious special stuff that was about him. His rim protection, his defensive versatility. So like, if something like this happens and he bangs and shoots the ball, then he's going to be a damn good player. But if this happened to like, some other rando defensive wing prospect that was just good or anything, they'd probably be like, oh, solid player. But I think it's just another reminder. It's like, these guys with really special traits are worth swinging on in the case that unexpected stuff happens. Because if that does happen, then we get really good results. But I don't necessarily think there's something here to take away in terms of like shooting projection. I still will probably, always good to like, what's going on?
It went blurry. Yeah, and all right, now I'm
Why
fixed.
did you just become blurry?
I don't know.
Audio only people have no idea how funny that was. He's just
like
shoving his hand into the camera. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
But yeah, point being, Dunn, like no real takeaways to me in terms of like shooting progression. Just like bet on the guys who go play for Budenholzer, because he's like, hey, you're gonna shoot 7 threes a game or you're not gonna play. I don't care how good you are on defense. Like, I mean, this is like, I don't have intel or anything. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh,
you want to play? Shoot. I don't care if they go in. Shoot or you're not playing.
Yeah.
The only concrete takeaway from this is Ryan Dunn working out. Herb Jones
also Tony
worked out.
Also Tony Bennett, rest in peace, devil. Hopefully.
Ryan Dunn worked
Hopefully
out.
we'll see some.
Herb Jones worked out. Invest in Jordan Walsh. That's all I'll say.
Ooh.
Ugh, I love Jordan Walsh. Hell yeah.
He's making things happen out there. All right. Well, that's everyone I have. I mean, we're at 2 hours. Dalton,
Can we quickly hit on Connect? I feel like Lakers fans, get the Lakers fans bump.
Hey, fuck them. But we'll give you this one. Just next time, remember that I gave you this when we skip whoever.
I don't know if we have any in the Patreon. I feel like we've never gotten a request that's like, hey, I'm a Lakers fan.
I mean, there's probably a few, but like they're not very vocal. I'll say that much.
Well, that's an oxymoron.
That's surprising to me, honestly.
Of a quiet Lakers fan, right?
But yeah, Connect is good. I mean, he's just like a awesome scorer. I mean, he kind of is like what we expected. I think him being paired with JJ Redick is like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams will like draft these awesome movement shooters and then just not use them off of movement. Like the Pelicans did this with Jordan Hawkins, where they're like, there's this guy who's like sprinting off of a fuckload of screens every game and he's amazing at it, and they just like don't let him do it as much in the league. With Connect, it's like JJ's like, all right, you're gonna run off handoffs and screens all day, and I think that's gonna be good for him.
Yeah. He's the way we talked about Clingan and Edey together. I did like when you look at what McCain's doing to a lesser extent, it is going on with Connect in terms of like all of the cool relocation, running around without the ball. I mean, when the Sixers have had other guys to like hold the ball, that's what McCain's been able to do. But yeah,
obviously Connect doesn't get the same kind of opportunity to create like McCain does. But.
Yeah.
Also, just want to say quickly that Stephon Castle's been good recently, and he's a great defender and a connective passer. And I'm also a hater according to my YouTube comments. I just don't think he's like a point guard, but he's good.
He's good at everything he was supposed to be good at, and he's not good at things we knew.
Oh my god,
he's good when his shot's falling.
Hey, who can you not? Who's
Stephon Castle shot falling? Quiet Lakers fan.
Oh, on that note, we're all dying. Hey, Ben, do you have anything to say? Do you have anything you want to plug?
I think we've already said plenty. I think I've reached my speaking quota for the day.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. thank you guys for having me on. Always enjoy this podcast and always enjoy talking ball with you guys. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at BJPF_. Did I plug the Blue Sky at BJPF?
Yeah, Blue Sky, guys. We're all moving to Blue Sky.
Migration, everybody.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just doing a bunch of basketball stuff. I'm daily content, whether that's articles on draft or basketball, or I'm at the moment doing daily or semi-daily YouTube videos. So if you like the kind of stuff that I said, or if you don't and you want to hate on me, that still helps pay the bills. So
Nice. Hell yeah. Everyone go check out his stuff. And like I said, we are dying. Pau Gasol, save our life.
Lay down a list of what is wrong.